The Game Time podcast is sponsored by Matt Gaddis at State Farm. Whether it's your car, home, or renter's insurance, Mac's got you covered with fast, reliable service and a personal touch that you can trust. His info is on screen right now, so reach out today and see why so many people rely on Matt Gaddis. Big thanks to Mac for supporting the Game Time podcast. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Game Time After Hours. It is great to be back. Thank you guys for all the love and support on this series. I love doing this show for you guys, and we are going to start with I'm gonna have a Giannis video probably coming out tomorrow, but today we start with this news right here: Chris Paul being released by the Clippers, parting ways with the team. The team announced this was yesterday that they announced Chris Paul would not be coming back. I'm pulling up a news article right here. This is from Newsweek, and obviously the Clippers making the announcement that they are parting ways with guard Chris Paul amid his final season. Paul revealed several weeks ago that he would retire at the end of the season. And, you know, it's definitely a shock to a lot of people, including myself, that they would release Chris Paul. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of speculation about what happened with Chris Paul. People in the Clippers organization were just not happy with how he was, I guess, not handling himself, but we know how Chris Paul can be. Chris Paul's a vocal guy, and if he feels some type of way, he's going to say it. And I respect this for Chris Paul for saying, but all this tells me is the Clippers are going to stay a mediocre, irrelevant franchise for years to come, and it only makes all of this. I'm not going to say funnier, but it's just ironic how this is the same team that we have to depend on to get us out of the problem that awaits us in the 2026 NBA draft lottery with the Oklahoma City Thunder having their pick. This franchise was the same franchise that made the worst trade in professional sports. Yes, the worst trade in professional sports, trading Paul George for all those picks and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and whatnot. It's the Los Angeles Clippers, and the Clippers have to figure something out. You've got to trade Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard cannot be on this roster by the deadline. I don't know if Kawhi has a no-trade clause. I don't think he does. But you can't have this guy on the roster come next season. I'm checking right now if he has a no-trade clause, but I don't think he does. And that if he does, the Clippers are in big trouble. No, he does not have a no-trade clause. He signed an extension with a no-player option. But there have been, obviously, the league investigations and whatnot, but we haven't heard much about those, so I'm not going to bring those up. But I think the big thing for me when it comes to this is the Clippers. I mean, I get it. You expected him to contribute in some shape or form. But when people have said this to me, my rebuttal is look at the other guys that they have signed in free agency. Bradley Beal is out for the season. Brook Lopez has been, he ain't done much. I mean, it's Brook Lopez at the young age of 40 something. Come on now. So for them to cut Chris Paul because of him, whatever he was doing, because obviously we know how vocal Chris Paul can be, and if Ty Lue and him went on speaking terms, I think this is an organization problem more than it's a Chris Paul problem, as a lot of people want to. I'm not going to say how people are trying to make it. I don't see in any situation where this is Chris Paul's fault. I think this is the Clippers just being a scummy dirtbag organization. For this guy gave multiple years to your franchise, some of the most relevant years in your franchise. The Lob City era will be remembered more than the Kawhi PG era. The Kawhi PG era will go down as one of the worst eras in Clippers basketball history, and that's a fact, because Lob City did a lot more for the city and a lot more for Clippers fans, because look at that. When you go back to that Lob City era, you had Kobe's Lakers were there, but they were starting to go downhill, especially after Kobe tore his Achilles. It was the Clippers running Staples Center for a solid period of time. With the whole Donald Sterling thing, who was there to weather the storm? It was Chris Paul. Who was there when Steve Ballmer took over the team? It was Chris Paul. For Chris Paul to be treated this way by an organization that he gave his blood, sweat, and tears to for a multitude of years. He signs with this team for his last season, like any other guy would do. You go to the NFL, Jeff Saturday signing a one-day contract with the Colts. All these players do something of this sort. He gets to do it for 1 year with the team that he played the most with. And you waive him? You send him home? You send him home? Are you serious? You don't have to play him. You can play him here and there, but you didn't have to play him. And if they weren't on speaking terms, maybe it is a Chris Paul thing, but at the end of the day, that man gave you multiple years of successful basketball, and that is how you treat him in his final season. And now he's talking about he may not even sign with another team. That is absolutely ridiculous. And it's a dirtbag move by the Los Angeles Clippers as an organization, because the other two guys they signed in free agency, one got injured right off the bat, and the other one is doing probably just as much as Chris Paul. I'm going to check Brook Lopez's stats so I don't sound like a complete another idiot, but I think what the Clippers did is a scummy move. Maybe they got a little inspiration from Lane Kiffin this week, and that's why they're doing that. But, okay, Brook Lopez, 6 points is what he's averaging, but he's only played 3 games, it looks like. So back to my point. What, other than the off-the-court issues, Chris Paul is putting in as much as the other two guys from this free agency class that they got this year. He's doing about the same. It may probably a little bit less than Brook, but just a scumbag move by the Clippers, real scummy, and I don't appreciate that. And I maybe I'm going a little harder because I'm a Lakers fan, and you know what? That's fine. But then again, right? I want them to trade LeBron, but I'm not. But if it's like, obviously it's hard. You can't really compare those just based off where LeBron is in his career and where CP3 is. But you guys get the gist, right? It's a messed up move, and it's a scummy move by the Los Angeles Clippers, and I don't agree with it at all. Let's go ahead and check out the NBA standings real quick. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me just a second to pull that up. Almost closed the tab. Let me pull this up. Let's go ahead and check out the standings. I've gotten to watch a good amount of basketball this past week, and we will start with the Eastern Conference. Thunder, just eons and eons and eons away. I think the big thing, the Spurs holding up. They held up without Victor Wembanyama. I don't think Wemby's back. I don't know off the top of my head. I would have saw it if Wemby's back, so I don't think he's back. Lakers with the nice little separation, about 2.5 games, I would say, maybe 1.5 over certain teams. Lakers look pretty good. They get the win over tonight. LeBron James, unselfish basketball right there. Had a chance to keep his streak of 10 points every game going, and instead he kicks it out to Rui for the game winner over the Toronto Raptors, a Toronto Raptors team that we just talked about on this very show. Like how the Lakers are playing, but it's still OKC. And really, when you look at this, if you're going based off rankings, my tier list, it'd be the Thunder all alone in the championship tier. But I do think the Nuggets are going to have something to say about that come the playoffs. Another team that I'm fairly impressed with is the Phoenix Suns. I'm really curious to see how Phoenix continues to tread. We're 19 games in. When we get to that 30, 40 game mark, how's Phoenix going to look? Maybe some other teams get injured and maybe they can climb up the rankings. I like how the Phoenix Suns look so far in this season. I didn't have them being this good, so props to the Phoenix Suns as well. Portland Trail Blazers, they were really hot at the start of the year. Now 9-13, not horrible. They're going to have a chance to get back into it, but they're going to have to do some work for sure. Bottom of the West, New Orleans Pelicans, I saw a report, Zion, they're willing to take any reasonable offer for him. You got to get rid of Zion. I'm going to have a trade deadline video coming out in a matter of days. I was going to have it come out before this, but with Giannis requesting his trade, I'm probably going to have a Giannis video coming out in the next couple of days as well. But I wanted to get this out because the Chris Paul thing really bugged me, man. I just think that's a scummy move by the Clippers, and you're really doing it for no reason. It's not like it's going to make you better. You're already 6-16. Just a really, really dirty move by the Los Angeles Clippers. Moving on to the East, Pistons first in the East by a good margin here. The other team, obviously, we talked about Toronto at length in one of my other videos. The New York Knicks second place in the East, the Miami Heat. I'm curious to see what destinations, we talk about. I'm not going to get on Giannis too much in this video because I'd like to make a separate video or put him in the trade deadline video. But I could see Giannis. I don't think there's a lot of suitors for Giannis out East, but I think Miami is probably the best one. Not because of the market, but I think they have the assets to do it. Like somebody told me Detroit, which is fair. Detroit has the assets, but Detroit's also 17-5. So I don't think they're going to make the move. I think Miami has a case to do it, to get a guy like Giannis and probably trade Tyler Herro, Norman Powell, a couple pieces and some picks to get Giannis. I think, and you still keep Bam Adebayo, and well, you got Bam Adebayo, but maybe you trade Bam Adebayo because Norman Powell looks really good, and so does Tyler Herro. Well, Tyler Herro looks all right. I don't know. I gotta do a little more research, but I know Norman Powell's been playing really well. How about the Magic? I think the Magic, they were my biggest disappointment at about really 2 weeks ago, and then they played really well in the in-season tournament, and I think those wins in the tournament definitely, obviously, those still go to your record, so it boosts their record up to 13-9. The Boston Celtics, props to my co-host Daryl over at Cott's Corner. Celtics and Jaylen Brown, 13-9. There was a point there where I think they were 8-8, so props to Boston. They are on fire right now, and Jaylen Brown is doing the damn thing. 3 wins in a row. Props to the Boston Celtics. I like what we're seeing out East. There's a lot to enjoy. I think the Sixers have been very enjoyable at times. I've watched them. I've enjoyed the Orlando Magic. One team that I've also really enjoyed this year is the Atlanta Hawks. Will they trade Trae Young? I think that's a possibility. Jalen Johnson looks really good as the number one option for this team since Trae Young's been out. But it all falls to this right here. Who's going to get Giannis? Is Giannis going to be gone at the deadline? I don't know. We've had some pretty crazy deadlines the last couple of years. I am not going to put it against anything that we see a LaMelo Ball get traded, a Giannis get traded, a Trae Young get traded, Anthony Davis to the Chicago Bulls may be something that we could see as well. I think there's a lot on the table this trade deadline, especially when you're a team out East. I think the Raptors are pretty set, right? I don't see them making a lot of moves. I think Miami is going to be a suitor for some people. Maybe Philadelphia can get into the mix and move Joel Embiid out of there because I think they have the chance to be competitive if they can get off of Joel Embiid and probably Paul George, but Paul George is going to be way harder to trade than Embiid. I mean, if Paul George's ability to be traded is this hard, right? Like all the way up here, Embiid's not too far behind. Like Embiid's probably like right about down here because they're making almost the same amount of money and the production is just not worth that amount of money. I think they're going to keep Paul George because you just can't get rid of him. Embiid, there's only going to be a small handful amount of suitors, but who are those people going to particularly be? I do not know. Bottom of the East, Wizards, Pacers, Nets, Hornets. Okay. Tier list. Let's go ahead and let's jump over to Zay's Wayz NBA tier list real quick. I'm not really thinking of changing much. I think the only thing that I will change is probably, actually, no, I'm going to keep the Blazers where they're at. The Grizzlies are 9-13, right? So let's go ahead and move them up because they're not playing too well, or they're not playing too bad. I'm also going to move the Utah Jazz up because they're playing better than the Dallas Mavericks right now. And that even goes for their record as well. So I'm going to put all these 4 teams at the bottom because they're all the same. If New Orleans gets rid of Zion, I'll probably just move them all the way up here. But this is in no particular order because, sheesh. I mean, I should give all 4 of these teams what I did to the Brooklyn Nets, which, that's a great representation of the Brooklyn Nets right there. Out East, Cleveland's still very far away. Miami probably needs to get moved up. We're going to move Milwaukee down here. Yeah, we got to move the East. Man, we're going to have to move the East a lot. I'm not going to put Orlando or Boston in the playoff tier quite yet because I want to see how they do when we get to about the 30-game mark. Where are they sitting at? What do they look like? Are they still maybe in the same spot, about a 5th or 6th. I kind of want to see where they'll shape out. I'm going to move Chicago down here along with Milwaukee for right now. I know Atlanta's kind of down there record-wise with them, but Atlanta's record compared to to Chicago and Milwaukee's is very different. So I'm going to keep Atlanta up there because I think I'm banking on Atlanta looking really good in the playoffs and being healthy, and I think they can knock off anyone. So I'm going to keep Atlanta there. Miami looks really well. Honestly, I'm actually going to put Miami ahead of both of these teams. I'm going to give the slight edge to Orlando. But honestly, Orlando and Boston are pretty close. Actually, we're going to put a gap right here. But I think that's it. I'm going to probably put maybe Atlanta right here. Yeah, let's do that. And then Philadelphia can go. We'll actually slot Philly right there. I'm going to keep Atlanta right there. Cleveland, we'll keep them a little far off of New York and Detroit. But these two teams are basically 1A, 1B type scenario. If you think Detroit should be here, okay. If you think New York should be here, okay. So I have no argument with that. NBA's been great. I've been able to watch a lot of basketball since I haven't had a lot of broadcasts. I got to watch the Lakers tonight. I was a little back and forth because I was watching Dallas lose to Detroit, the Dallas Cowboys. But I appreciate all the love and support on Game Time After Hours. These have been our most successful recorded videos in the Game Time Network's history. So thank you guys for all the love and support on the content here. But folks, that is going to do it. And of course, it wouldn't be Game Time After Hours if I didn't tell you what time it was. So it is 3:22 a.m. At the end of this recording. Thank you guys for all the love and support, and I will see you guys next time on the next episode of Game Time After Hours.